Welcome to our One Blessed Mess with Ben and Liz. We're here just telling our story of raising 6 kids in 8 years and also having an entrepreneurial home with 2 businesses while raising 4 teenagers and, of course, having 7 chickens and 2 dogs, just to keep life interesting. But today's conversation is about what, Ben?
Well, it kind of fits in line with today's theme, which is Valentine's.
Yes!
Valentine's Day.
Happy
Love
V-Day.
Day.
Happy V-Day.
Happy Love Day, y'all.
Happy Love Day.
We're going to try to keep it real loving here because we're going to talk about this concept
of marriage.
Of marriage, yes.
We're going to talk about love.
We're going to talk about love and marriage.
Love and marriage.
Also what an egalitarian and a complementarian are.
Oh, yeah.
And we're even going to throw a third one in there.
Big words.
End. Yeah. But we're going to dive into something that's slightly controversial.
Ben, do you remember when we were getting married? It was like the week of our wedding, and I had you do a whole dance with me. Do you remember that?
I don't know if I remember that.
You don't remember that?
Wait. Yes.
Yes.
Wait, was it for our rehearsal, but we didn't end up
doing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we practiced for hours.
Oh, boy.
I just wanted to be in your space, really. So that's why I made you do this dance.
What made you think of that?
Love and marriage.
Oh, that was
love and marriage.
That was the song?
That was literally the song. What is it? Goes together like a horse and carriage.
Man, I have like a really vague memory of that.
Yeah, well, it's been 2 decades. But I don't even remember all the choreography.
I don't know if it's even a good memory.
Well, Gene Kelly and Ginger, we were trying.
We were trying. Yeah,
it was a little White Christmas, not really at all.
You kind of got me.
Remember that movie White Christmas?
You kind of got me into dancing.
I did.
I was not a dancer before I met you.
No, you were not.
And
no.
now I can swing.
You can swing dance.
And
you
can
guys
tango a little bit even.
You should see us tango. Our kids they're like, stop.
Watch out.
Just stop, Mom and Dad. So we actually go ballroom dancing. We try to go as often as we can. It's just kind of something that we do together.
Yeah. Man, I'm loving all these love topics.
I know.
Yeah. It's rekindling the fire.
You're a really good dancer.
Oh, thank you.
You are. In fact, you guys, when we were getting married, we were learning ballroom dancing. Mm-hmm. And you know where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and so he would come home or come from work. I'm going to say come home because we weren't married yet. But you would come from work and meet me at the ballroom dance location where we're having lessons, and there were not enough partners, and there were ladies that were my grandmother, my great grandmother's age, and literally not kidding you guys, they would line up and they would push me out of the way to dance with my fiance. And so we wanted to get a few dance lessons in before we got married, so that we were comfortable out on the dance floor. And then also too for our honeymoon, because we were going on a cruise and we knew there was going to be dancing and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair to the older ladies, there were only so many men to go around.
Not enough partners.
More women at these dance classes. So.
Yeah.
But you could, I definitely remember them like cutting in front of you.
Oh, it was terrible. I remember like showing one lady my engagement ring, and then poor Ben. By the time I got to dance with him, which by the way, you smelled so nice. You're so handsome and smells so nice. You were a sweaty mess. Yeah. Your whole back was nothing but sweat because you had been dancing nonstop. You didn't even get a break because it was like one right after the other, after the other. I'm glad you're laughing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so anyway, I do love dancing.
You just triggered another memory of smelling.
Oh, no. What?
Well.
You got to share now. I mean, we're already rolling.
It's the fart story.
Oh, no. Ben Varan?
We might as well. It's Valentine's Day. We might as well.
Babe. Like, seriously?
I mean.
Really?
It's kind of, it's a little bit. It's a little bit.
This one's not planned, you guys.
Oh man, I guess we're just gonna go there.
You have to.
We have to now.
Unless we like re-record.
Oh no. Let's just keep it. Let's just keep going.
We're gonna keep it.
We're gonna. Yeah.
Ben.
Are we gonna tell both of them though?
I don't know. I'm so embarrassed.
We should probably just go for it and tell both of them.
Okay,
let's
go
do
ahead.
Let's do it. Okay.
I'm really embarrassed right now.
The first fart story I'm thinking of.
No, do we have to share these stories?
The first fart story I'm thinking of.
And I hate that word.
Is when we were...
Say expelled flatus, like my grandmother taught me. Expelled flatus or passed
Nobody
gas.
says that.
I understand, but that's what she had to say.
Nobody says that. Oh my god.
Expelled flatus.
I'm saying fart.
Okay. Gosh. Are we going to get flagged for saying this?
We might have to be on the... what?
I don't know. I don't even understand all the things that you're not supposed to say anymore, but...
Okay, well, anyways, let's get into the story. So
I'm trying to lay the story. Do we have to tell this?
I came over to your place while we were dating.
Oh.
And your sisters were there.
Yes.
Because you guys all live together.
Yeah, we lived together. All the sisters. And it was quite the adventure.
And this is when we were, I don't remember how many like months we were into dating, but it was probably.
I think we were engaged.
Yeah, we were probably engaged. Yeah,
I don't know. No, I don't know. I think we were engaged and I was visiting because I lived in another state. And so I was visiting the sisters.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Why are we talking about this?
I was there and you were sitting on my lap and we were talking to one of your sisters. And what did you do? What did you do? Nope, you got to tell them.
I don't want to.
Tell them what you did. Tell them what you did.
You have to tell it. You're telling the story.
You passed gas on me.
Thanks.
See, I didn't say fart. You passed gas on me.
I did. It was just one of those things. It was, that special time of the month. And so you're a little bit more flagellant. Is that the word?
Well, it was definitely smelly.
Okay,
sure.
Stop, Benjamin. That is awful. Great.
So you did. You passed gas on me.
This is supposed to be about love and Valentine's Day.
We went from Valentine's Day to
anyway, get to the point. So
you passed gas on me.
Right.
And I said.
And you have no sisters,
I don't have any sisters. So
he doesn't have any sisters, so he doesn't fully get it yet.
No. No sisters, no grid for,
women
doing that.
Because your mother never does that. Your mother's perfect. She doesn't.
Oh, Mom. Oh, goodness.
I'm telling the truth.
It's true.
It's true. She doesn't.
Yeah,
and so he doesn't have a grid for that. So you were in shock.
So
he was in shock.
I was shocked. And I was like, oh my gosh, what in the heck? Like, this is what guys do, not what.
Okay, get on to the story. Get on.
So I was like, don't do that. And
and you can't help it.
It was jokingly. I mean, it was funny. You were flirty, whatever.
Right. And
so then a little farther along, what happens? You
again.
did it again.
Again. Thanks, Ben. Again. Yes, again.
And what did I say?
You said, if you do that again, I'm going to pass gas on your face. And I was like, what?
You didn't believe me, did you?
No, we're getting married. I'm thinking, you have to be kidding me. Like, you would never do that to me. And my sisters were sitting there and they're like, that's gross. Like, who does that?
This is an egalitarian view.
Oh, anywho. And so, I obviously, again, thanks, Ben, for bringing this up to the whole world that's listening to the story.
The third time you passed gas on me, and what happened?
You're like, that's it. And your face changed, and I thought, oh, shoot. He's telling the truth. He's gonna pass gas on my face. So I got up and I took off and ran down the hall, and I was like going to try to lock myself in the bedroom.
That's right. You tried to lock yourself in your bedroom.
And you were there like hot second. And I was like, no. And sure enough, like I jumped like on the bed, I guess it was.
Yeah, you jumped on the bed and I literally jumped right on your face.
Yes. Well, you didn't jump on my face.
Sorry, I jumped.
You jumped and then you turned around and you put your rear end on my face. And what did he do?
I farted. I can't believe that I actually had to pass gas right at that moment. It was a beautiful thing. I mean, it was so beautiful. Just telling it again.
Happy Valentine's Day. I can't believe we're even talking about this. This was not the plan.
Oh,
anyway,
man.
So
what a story.
Yeah.
What a story.
Anywho, so I was in shock. Of course, my sister's like, that's disgusting. And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, this is so gross. And he's like, I told you, don't ever do that again.
I think one fart story is good enough for today. Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty intense.
That was really intense.
Really intense.
Okay.
So a good segue, I guess, right? Is like, hey, women do it, men do it.
There you go.
Yeah. But just going for it.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. All right. So anyways, what a story. I don't know if we can recover from that, but
our kids are going to hear this story.
We've got to get to the topic. Okay. The topic is for today, not farting, although it was a great story.
Gas.
Not pass gas.
Spelling flatus.
Egalitarian versus complementarian. And so we came across this topic because we read a book called The Great Sex Rescue by Sheila Gregory. And we got a lot out of the book.
Yeah, there was definitely some good things. I mean, of course, with every book, you eat the meat and spit out the bones, 100%. Right? Yeah. So 100%. It was good.
Yeah, and we recommend it. We recommend the book. But as we were recommending the book, we got some pushback. In fact, some of us were like, hey, I can't read this because the author is an egalitarian.
Yep. Which we didn't even know what that meant. We're like, what?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Egalitarian. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That must be bad.
Yeah. So then we started looking into it.
So, yeah, we started looking into it, and, we were trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what's the controversy here?
And we're not even 100% sure that she is.
Yeah. I think some of the things that she says in the book kind of lean that direction. But she definitely recognized, authority structure coming from the Bible and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so we were just a little confused as to why there was so much pushback on it. And so we'll just go into kind of like what defines egalitarian, what defines complementarian, and then also talk a little bit about like kind of where we netted out as a couple. Like
I like where we get as a couple. So let's kind of go through this a little quickly.
So you want to talk about the egalitarian?
Okay, so an egalitarian, I said it right, egalitarian. Egalitarian. Okay.
You got it.
Emphasizes complete equality in roles and functions between men and women.
Yep.
Also interprets submission passages as cruelty specific or culturally specific. Or applies them equally to both genders, supports women in all leadership roles in the church and equal partnership in marriage, and focuses on scriptures that stress equality in Christ.
Yep. So that's the kind of the basic egalitarian viewpoint, is that there's not this less than, greater than in men and women in marriages, but we're equal because we're equal in Christ.
Right.
So that's kind of the ultimate premise. And they, a lot of them would say there's not like the direct authority coming from the man in the relationship that the woman has to submit to all the time, that kind of thing. So that's kind of that viewpoint there. Whereas the complementarian is maintaining that there is equality in worth, but difference in roles and functions. So it's a little bit nuanced to kind of have to say that a couple times and think that through what that actually means. But it's taking more of a literal approach to the passages about the wife's submission and male leadership. It restricts certain church leadership roles to men, emphasizes male headship in marriage, and then sees gender distinctions as part of God's design for the family and church order. So some of that, makes a lot of sense. It's kind of an obvious thing if you're reading through the passages. You kind of come across these and you're like, okay, that makes sense. So one of the things that we were noticing is like there's definitely scripture references that kind of like back both of these positions.
Yeah.
Like you can read it and interpret it and think, oh yeah, that sounds like an egalitarian. Then you can read another passage and be like, oh yeah, that's more complementarian. And so what did you come up with when we were discussing this?
Well, I came up with something, right. This forced us to get into the scriptures.
It did.
I mean, this really forced us to get in there and study.
Because we didn't want to send people astray. We didn't want to recommend a book and then realize like, oh yeah, this author is just way off base or whatever. So we kind of dove into it. We're like, okay, well, what is this? What does it really mean to be one of these things?
Yeah.
But what did you come up with?
Okay, so when we were discussing it, and one of our morning discussions with hot cups of coffee.
Without passing gas.
Wow. Anyway, I'm just going to push you.
That's going to be.
Because I just want to push you.
That's going to be a theme, I think.
I literally cannot believe we talked about this. Anyway, I came up with a term. I said, well, what about being a Servitarian? And, that's not in all the literature that's out there regarding this. But we kind of came
right from Liz.
Yeah, it came from Liz. It was a Lizism. But, we kind of came up with this. What is a Servitarian? But
where does it put the focus? Like, right? So like when you're talking about egalitarian and complementarian, the focus is like, oh, okay, we got to make sure we're viewing that role to make sure it's like, it's accurate and there's like this right, or there's the leadership thing that you got to make sure you're working out or whatever. But when you're looking at it kind of this Servitarian, what do you put? Good. Yeah. What do you put
the focus on the other person.
Yeah. And serving the other person.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. Because ultimately, who was that example that we would get that from?
Oh, his name is JC.
JC. What's up, JC?
For real. Jesus.
So I think like that's the whole point, is we see the example that Jesus gives.
Yes.
And it's like, hey, we don't have to like get so hung up on, who's got to obey who in marriage and, these kind of things, or is it more equal? really, like when we put the focus off of ourselves, we put it on the other person,
right,
then like that's where it makes the most sense. That's where we actually get, I think, the most value in loving our spouse is when we love that spouse sacrificially.
Yeah.
Because no greater love than this, that a man lay down his life for his friend. Can't we just apply that to our spouses? Like when we lay down our lives for our spouses, like I feel like that's when the love comes alive.
Well, and that's very, very true, because there was a moment in our marriage early on, and I was not doing that. I was very much looking at, what are you going to do for me? What is happening here? And it was actually kind of a scary time. And I feel like I can talk about it pretty like with authority and clarity right now, because it's been a long time.
Right.
But there was a time that I wanted out of this marriage. I did not want to be in this marriage. Right. And I don't even think you had a clue.
Yeah, I don't think I did actually.
No.
Yeah. I didn't know that was like what was in your heart. I knew like you were maybe disappointed, but I didn't know that to like what extent.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was going on was that I was basically looking at everything that you were doing wrong. I was looking at everything that I was dissatisfied, that was making me dissatisfied. And, you were working long hours, you were providing for the family. I was home with kids. There was this cycle that we were in, and, we were basically on an impasse. I wasn't fully, I didn't feel like I was fully being heard. I'm sure you didn't feel like you were fully being heard. And so in the midst of all that, I was looking at other marriages and going, well, that marriage has this and that marriage has that. And I don't have that in my marriage. And so I was really beginning to think like, I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know what this is going to be. And this is kind of heavy talking about this on Valentine's Day, but I didn't know. And so in the midst of it, I ended up going to a mom's group Bible study. And the second time we met, I remember them saying, because I went in disgruntled and I was just like ready to complain about my marriage and where it was at. And I'm a positive person.
Yikes.
So
must have been bad. Must have been all that passing gas.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to keep talking past that. Anyway, but I remember the second week we were there, the topic came up on blessing our husbands and loving our husbands. And I kind of was struggling with that. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And the challenge was to love your husbands for the next 2 weeks in ways that are their love languages. And they're like, we all know a husband's number one love language, most husbands anyway. And so they're like that, but
did we maybe do an episode on some of that in family devotions? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, Lord, kind of. Oh, Ben.
That's a throwback.
There's an episode about family devotions. But
Sex ed family devotions.
Yeah. Anywho, but, it was look for ways to serve your husband, beyond intimacy. And when I say intimacy, I mean between a husband and wife. That's what we call it. We call it intimacy. And so I was looking for, ways to serve you, like cooking your favorite meals, just trying to make things easier when you came home, these kind of things. And so what was happening was my eyes were getting off of me and they were getting on 100% serving you. And it wasn't like a master slave thing. It's not like the head of the house and you're the lower end of the house. Like it wasn't that at all. But what was happening was
voluntary.
It was voluntary. What was happening was my heart was changing in the process. And literally there was a miracle that took place because I went from looking at all the negative, all the things that you weren't doing to the things that you were doing and seeing it from a different perspective. And then I don't know if you remember this part or not. I don't know, but it was early on in our marriage. When you would go to bed at night, because I'm a natural encourager, like I love to encourage people, and I was not encouraging you. Like it was, you walked in the door and I was already ticked. Like I just was not happy.
Right.
And so as I was changing my perspective and finding ways throughout the day to serve and to love you, whatever that would look like, and you're actually quality time, but you also are physical touch, so hugging you when you came in the door, and you're kind of acts of service. I'm more acts of service.
Yeah, you're definitely acts of service.
Yeah.
Coffee in the mornings.
Coffee in the mornings, man.
Found it.
Yeah, it took 20 years.
Found the secret.
Yeah, took 20 years.
To a better marriage. Make your wife coffee in the mornings.
Especially if she's acts of service.
Oh, yeah.
Do the dishes, fold
Flowers,
your laundry, put
bringing
your laundry.
flowers,
Yeah, that's gift
flowers.
giving too.
Oh,
But
that's
it's that,
true.
you know. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is when we were going to bed at night after the kids were in bed, I would encourage you as you were going to sleep at night. And I would say things like, you're such a good provider. And I would point out the things that I knew about you, that I loved about you, you know, saying you're a good husband, you're such a good dad. And as you were falling asleep, literally, it was like my desire was to bless you as much as I could, right? And and you have no memory of this, of course.
I mean, I can't say that I remember that falling asleep.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I remember.
Once I fall asleep, I'm kind of dead to the world.
You are pretty dead. Even when you have babies, this man can be asleep.
Oh, it's so
for
bad.
real. No,
It's
you
so
can
bad.
be asleep. There can be a blowout of a
it's so
child
bad.
next to you. I mean, we're talking yellow blowout. And you screaming their heads off, and you literally sleep through it. I'm like shoving you, like, Ben, you need to wake up. And then you're like rolling over almost into the explosion in our bed at like 2 a.m. It could be vomit, and he sleeps right through it. Anyway,
we all have our issues.
it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. We figured that out a long time ago.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm trying to get at is that literally a miracle happened in my heart where it was all about serving you. And there's this whole thing right now about gratitude.
Yeah.
Right. And this is before the big trend of like the gratitude journals and, you know, this whole, I love that, but this isn't anything.
You were a forerunner.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I'll be a forerunner. But this was before like, you know, I knew any of that stuff.
Yeah.
What was happening was I was looking for the good instead of looking for the bad.
That's
and I was looking at how I could serve you and love you. And my heart changed.
So good.
And it really did change. And it started with me. It wasn't him making the change. It was me making the change.
Yeah.
It really does work. And we weren't seeing a counselor.
Right.
I wasn't confiding in anybody.
Right.
This was literally something that I believe the Lord directed me to do. Thank God he did, because I don't know where we would be today. And I don't know. I think we just had a few kids.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it was just 1 or 2.
It was a few kids. That's how we have the metric.
Time.
We measure time. How many kids do we have?
kids?
When was Liz pregnant?
Oh man, dude, that's an intense story. I forgot kind of some of the details in that, but I'm really thankful that that became your attitude and you were the Servitarian before we even knew what that was.
Yeah.
How about that?
Before we made it up.
Well, I think I think that really shows the example of like taking the eyes off of ourselves and putting it on the other person in the good way, right? Like not pointing out faults, but not trying to get what we want, but instead giving what that other person wants, you know, and like
not being selfish.
Not being selfish, yeah. And like
which is
serving.
hard.
It is hard. And, you know, it's almost like dying to self, you know? It's almost kind of like that Jesus guy knew what he was talking about when he was, you know, just showing the way, right? It's like that works in so many different aspects of our relationships when we take our eyes off of the things that we need and we, and it's all about me. And instead, like, focus on serving, and not like that you stay in an abusive relationship or anything like that.
No. In fact, if you are in one, you need to get help and you need to take a break or get out.
100%. But if you're with someone who you know is a genuine person and you know loves the Lord, it's like there's so much there that you can work with, you know, and you can find the good in that person. You can find what the Lord is doing in that person and champion that and celebrate that, which is what you did.
Right.
And it changed your heart.
Yeah. I mean, it literally changed.
Yeah.
I went from wanting out to wanting in, and it's been that way ever since. Yeah. And we've had other rough patches.
Oh,
I mean, there's
100%.
There's more kinds of that we've walked through, and we probably will share some of those in future episodes. But you know, that Servitarian, it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. And you hear that all the time.
Right.
But what about if you're putting in the 100 and the other person's not?
Well, I think that kind of, right, like it motivates that other person to see, man, like this person loves me, you know? And I think that that can't be understated. Like I get it, right? Like we all probably have seen relationships or even maybe been in the relationship where you didn't give 100%. True. And maybe the other spouse was doing it and you noticed that. And like, I feel like, you know, seeing that even from you and seeing how you love me and you serve me, like that really, I think opens my heart to you as well. Like there's such power in doing that.
Right.
That I feel like that other person who might not be giving as much as the other, if you notice that and you see that, like there's just something that kind of starts your engine towards your spouse, you know, like kind of revs and
starts your engine.
Yeah. I mean, we got all kinds of crazy metaphors in this.
Oh my gosh. It's Valentine's Day.
It's Valentine's Day. It's V-Day.
It's V-Day. Victory Day.
Victory Day.
Victory Day.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the point. I think that's the point we're trying to make, right? It's like, we get it. We get that there's scriptures that, you know, kind of lean this way or that way. And it's really important to go through them. In fact, we're going to have like a little study guide that you guys can go through, which is a little bit of the fruit that we got from diving deep into the scriptures and going through the historical and the contextual and cultural contexts for these passages. I know I said context twice there. It's like a double context. Context of the context. But the cultural and just the historical kind of significance of these verses and really unpack it, like what it means, and then also applying it into other verses, right? Making sure that like this kind of authority thing that I feel like a lot of the complementarians kind of lean towards, like they want to be right so that they can exercise this authority in a marriage relationship. And I feel like I've seen that more so than like a woman trying to do kind of more of that egalitarian thing. I feel like I see a lot of men, and maybe it's just me because I'm a man, kind of come at it from like, oh yeah, well definitely the Bible is complementarian because men are the authority and like we have to be the ones in control. And I feel like that's where it gets on that slippery slope, right? Like when you start trying to exercise your authority because you feel like it's God given, and you start skipping over verses that talk about like submitting to one another
or laying down your life
and choosing your spouse over your own needs, you know, like you can find just as many verses. And I feel like, man, it kind of boggles your mind. And so again, that's where we kind of landed on this concept of, you know what, if we focus our 100% mental energy on serving serving your spouse,
right,
then it's amazing what comes back. Like it's like reaping what you sow,
right? And
just choosing to serve, not putting the focus on, well, is you know, he treating me equal, or you know, is she submitting to me and my role as this authority structure and blah blah blah. But instead, like, let's lay down our lives for one another. I feel like that's the heart of the matter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you do that well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
I feel like you did a good job too.
Well, thank you. I'm not perfect, that's for sure.
Well, and then you've got this guy that sometimes farts on you, so that makes it kind of hard probably to want to serve.
Oh, of course, we're back to the potty humor again.
I mean,
I told you guys, we always bring this stuff up. Somehow it comes up.
It does. It really does.
It's about humility.
It is. It's about humility and serving. And I think like we can't overstate that enough, right? It's about going low and about serving. And I'm reminded of a verse in Mark. And let's just read it. It's Mark chapter 10, 41 through 45. And when the 10 heard about this, they became indigent with James and John. And so what we're talking about here is like James and John were asking Jesus about sitting on his left and his right hand, right? And so the 10 thought about that as like, oh, well, they're asking to be kind of like higher up in the org chart, right? They wanted to be left and right. Like, well, where does that leave us? And so immediately they were like offended because there was this concept of like, who's going to be the highest in the kingdom? And Jesus kind of like calms them down. He says, Jesus called them together and said, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentile lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be a slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. So like we kind of see Jesus deal with that little, you know, little tiff. And he's like, hey guys, this isn't the way. This isn't the kingdom. Mm-mm. It's not to figure out who gets the most authority, who gets to exercise it over who. Like that's what the Gentiles do. That's what this world does. Instead, like I came to serve.
Right.
If you want to be in a position of authority and leadership, you've got to go low and serve.
Right.
And I feel like that Servitarian mindset takes the argument away from which view is right, which scriptures do we need to read in more than others, and just we're here to serve
each other.
We're here to serve each other. Yeah, and lay down our lives for one another. Like that's what Jesus is wanting us to do. I feel like that's what works when we do in the context of our marriage. And just like you talked about, it really changes our outlook.
That's right.
Even when there's tough times.
Yep.
Like when we focus on that serving piece, it really does unlock something.
Well, and it did in my heart, and it saved our marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back at that, in that time, it was kind of a scary place to be. And I know that there's others that probably are listening to this, maybe have been there or are there.
Right.
And, there is something about laying down your life for the other.
There is.
There really is.
Yeah. And it's hard to go through. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing.
No.
Right. If it was so easy, there wouldn't be a lot of this conversation about,
right.
which way is right. It would just become natural because we're just so easy to serve. But it takes a lot of hard work.
And you're not hard to serve, by the way.
Well, likewise, I feel the same. But it just, you're just naturally selfish.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Kind of born that way.
I know I am. Whew. This coffee is not hot enough.
Go back and make me some more.
Go back in there and make me more coffee.
Oh, goodness. That's
yeah.
so funny.
Although I will say, I do enjoy when you make me my cup of coffee in the morning. You guys, it took a little bit of training.
20 years.
But,
20 years.
well, I mean,
Finally
to get it just right. With the right amount of cream, the right color. Now, keep in mind, I'm married to an artist. So it's all about the color. Like he figured out the shade.
Maybe I should get like a latte machine and do like the little,
Lord
little
have
leaf
mercy.
petals and the milk. And
ooh. Oh, yeah.
Frothing, you know what I'm saying?
You need to be doing that.
Yeah.
I would like for you to serve me
feel
like
this
that.
just got really expensive.
You were just kidding. And now,
Oh, boy.
too late.
Oh,
Too
boy.
late. Too late. So there's going to be a study guide.
There is, yeah. We'll put a little link, and it'll go through like a lot of the verses that typically the egalitarian viewpoint come from, and then also
The
the
complementarian.
complementarian.
Yeah.
And we do like a deep dive, and we just go through them, and we talk about what means for each context and stuff, and then kind of where we net out, just where we have netted out personally, and with this Servitarian mindset. So if you guys are interested in that, just take a look at the show notes, and there'll be a way to get that information.
And we just want to say happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. We are so happy and we love and we're all about love.
That's right. Even in the form of passing gas.
Okay, so we're going to end on that note. Now we're done. I was going to be all lovey-dovey, but we're over. So thank you for being a part of our one blessed mess today. It literally has been a blessed mess. Our one BM for real. But don't forget to subscribe, share, like, heart, however you're listening to this, and pass this along to somebody that you think would be encouraged. Of course, we are talking about Valentine's Day, but truly, like every day should be Valentine's Day. It doesn't have to be just one day. We feel like this topic and this subject that we're talking about is good for a lot of people to hear and maybe to bring clarity. Definitely check out that study guide below, but follow us on Instagram. We do have a Instagram page. We have a Facebook page. So follow us there. But just remember, until next time, embrace your beautiful mess, because if our mess can be blessed,
then we know so can yours.
Yes, it can. Have a great, great day.